Hi, we're going to make some flapjack. This is a really simple recipe, and there's kind of two stages to it. The first stage is to get the sugar, the butter and the honey bubbling away, and we're going to use 190 grams of butter, 190 grams of sugar and 85 grams of honey. Okay, so I'm going to put the butter in. We're going to get the butter and the sugar and the honey, and it's got to bubble away for about 5 minutes. You've got to melt your sugar and melt your butter and all the honey together. Now, there's kind of a healthy part to this recipe and an unhealthy part. Okay, so this is possibly the unhealthy part. We're going to get our butter in there. Okay, it doesn't take long to melt the butter. Now, if you haven't got butter, you could use margarine, but this is kind of better with butter, this recipe. So we're going to weigh out 190 grams of sugar. This is Demerara sugar. So if you can't get Demerara sugar, you could use sort of white sugar, or if you can't get that, you can use brown sugar. So we got our sugar in there as well. And then we're going to roughly squeeze out 85 of honey. Now, if you go a little bit over, that's totally fine. Okay, then we get that on, and we're going to get that melting. And now that has got to really bubble. Okay, that's got to really bubble. Now, whilst that's bubbling, what we're going to do is we're going to mix out the rest of the ingredients. And for that we need some porridge oats, and we need 380 grams. So we need twice the amount of porridge oats. So I'm going to pour it from my porridge jar. And this is quite a lot of porridge that you need here. Nearly there. Okay, cool. So we've got 380 of porridge. And porridge oats are really, really cheap. This is a really cheap recipe. So we stick our porridge oats in there. And then what we're going to do, I'll turn this up. So we want this to start, it's going to start melting. What we're going to do is then we can add some chopped fruit, some dried fruit. You can add some nuts to it. You can add some spices. So I'm going to add 100 grams of cranberries. So, and these are ready chopped. You can chop them yourself if you want. I'm going to add 100 grams of cranberries. Oh, actually I'm going to add 40 grams, that's all that's left in there. I'm going to add 100 grams of chopped apricots. Get that one in there as well. There we go. And I'm also going to add a few dates. So this is just chopped dates. Now, if you want to go and get your own apricots, you can chop your own apricots up. If you want to get your other bits of fruit and nuts, you can put them in here as well. And then we add them to our mixture. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to give that a little squidge, keeping an eye on this because we want this to start to melt. Okay, we just mix it all in. I might get a spoon in a minute. And then we're going to add some cinnamon. So here's my cinnamon. We're going to add 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. Get that in there. 1, 2. In fact, I might use this little spoon. And we want to mix the cinnamon in. Might turn this up a bit. So this is starting to melt. So you want it to really, really bubble. Okay, so we want all that sugar to dissolve in the butter and the honey. So that's good. So we're going to mix our cinnamon in with our porridge oats and our fruit. Now you could add whatever you like. Okay, so if you wanted to add little chocolate chips, you could add chocolate chips to this. It's totally up to you. It doesn't really matter with this recipe. Okay, and then what we're going to do whilst that's bubbling, we're going to turn the oven on. This one's on 180, and we're going to get the oven nice and hot. So this is starting to melt, so the butter's nearly dissolved. So, cool. Okay, give that a little stir. Okay, now whilst that's doing, what we're going to do is we're going to take it. This is a little an oven tray. Now, if you haven't got any of this greaseproof paper, what you can do is with a bit of margarine or butter, you can smear it around the inside so that it makes it kind of non-stick. So I'm going to put a bit of greaseproof paper in there. This is nearly melted. And that's where we're going to put our flapjack when we've added this to our porridge oats. Okay, so that's really bubbling. Be really careful, this is super hot. So you don't want, so if you feel a bit worried about doing this, you could get an adult to help you do this one. So mix it all in. So. And this is going to make a really it's going to make a kind of healthy snack, but with loads of porridge oats and loads of fruit in it. Now it has got some sugar in it and it has got some butter in it, but you're not going to eat this entire flapjack in one go. Okay, so what we're starting to do, this is starting to bubble up, which is what we want. We want it to really bubble. Okay, and when it's bubbled, what we're going to do is we're going to add it to this bowl of mixture. And then what we're going to do is we're going to spoon it all in and get it all completely mixed. So I think we're ready. I'm going to turn that off. So it's starting to bubble. Be really careful when you do this. Pour it all in. We don't want any mixture left in our pan. And then very quickly, with your spoon, very quickly with your spoon, it's now cooking that side. So obviously I would use a bigger spoon than the tiny one I've got. So use a bigger spoon. So we're going to mix it all in, and we want all of the mixture to be coated with the sugar and the honey. Okay, that is really important. So you don't want to get your fingers anywhere near it. Use a spoon and mix it all in. And what you'll find is that it will all start to go lovely and gooey. Okay. Keep mixing, and it will all start to come together. Ooh. Okay. So keep mixing. Really get your spoon in there. Give it a good mix. Now, there's quite a lot of fruit in here, which is good. You don't want any dry bits at the bottom, so it's all got to touch the sugar and the honey and the butter mixture. And the porridge oats, they go a kind of darker colour, so you'll see when they've all been sort of touched by that sugary goo. Okay. It's looking good. It's looking good. Get it all mixed in. That's it. Keep going. This is quite a good workout for your muscles. Get it all mixed in. Beauty. You can see all the fruit mixed in as well. Now, if you've got nuts in this, this would be really, really delicious. So, okay, cool. And what we're going to do is you're going to need a potato masher or a big wooden spoon or a rolling pin. Okay, so what we're going to do, make sure our paper is all spread out and make sure it's all, give it one final mix. We're going to put that onto our paper. This is where you can see if there's any dry bits. So I'm going to get that all in the pan. There's a little bit at the bottom which I'm not going to put onto my flapjack. You get it all out like that. I'll leave that little bit in the bottom. Scrape it off the sides. Okay, now it makes a big pile. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to push it down. I'm going to use a potato masher, and we're going to push it down onto our tray. You might want to push it into the sides a little bit, and you want to push it down so it's about maybe a sort of centimetre thick. Give it a really good squidge. Push it down. Use a bit of force. Okay, push it down so it's nice and flat. Now this is a kind of a perfect sized tray for this one. Push it down. Make it as flat as you can. Now if you haven't got one of these, you could use a wooden spoon or a rolling pin. I wouldn't use your hand because it's quite warm with that sugar in there still. Okay, that's what we want to do. We want to get it down so it's pretty even. And then we're going to put that in the oven for about 25 minutes. And it needs to be at about 180 degrees C. So I'm going to put that one in the oven. Okay, so we slam it in the oven, leave it in there, and it's going to cook. Then when you take it out of the oven, what you need to do is you need to leave it on the side because the mixture will still be quite soft. Okay, and then when it's cooled, and it probably takes about sort of half an hour to cool, this is what it looks like. Okay, so you've got a nice cooked piece of flapjack, and then with a sharp knife, now be very careful when you're doing this, and if you wanted to ask an adult to help you, you can do. When you cut it, if you cut it into squares or cubes, so this is what your flapjack looks like. So, perfect. And then have a try. Now I've used Demerara sugar in here, or brown sugar. This is very good. This had dates and cranberries in it, this one. So it's really tasty. And then you've got a healthy snack. You can chop this up into pieces, put it in a Tupperware, put it in your fridge, or put it in a cupboard, and it will last for a good, 4 or 5 days. And then you've got some flapjack to keep you going. Okay, get busy, get cooking. Recipe is very straightforward. Download the recipe, keep sending in your photos. Had some brilliant photos sent in already. Keep trying the cooking, keep doing the 10-week challenge, and enjoy your flapjack. Delicious.